Hello, my dear students. Welcome to Narayana Life Classes. Today, we are going to discuss about Class 6 Physics assignment, which was provided to you on 11th of June. Let us start. So, the first question is, what is the difference between luminous and non-luminous object? Now, if you recollect the basic definition of luminous and non-luminous object, then you will remember that luminous objects are those objects which emit their own light, which give or emit their own light. Example, sun, bulb, tube light, stars, etc. You can give various examples. And non-luminous objects are those objects which do not emit their own light. The objects which do not emit their own light are known as non-luminous objects. Examples which you can give, there are various examples in our day-to-day life which you can use. For example, chair, table, book, this pen, etc. So all these objects are non-luminous objects. The perfect answer which I have written is the objects which give or emit their own light are known as luminous objects. And never forget to mention examples even in the exams. So the examples of luminous objects are sun, bulb, tube light, etc. Whereas non-luminous objects are those which do not emit their own light. Let us underline the word do not emit. It is very important. The objects which do not emit their own light are known as non-luminous objects. Examples of non-luminous objects, table, chair, book, etc. I hope the point is clear. Let us proceed further to the next question. The next question is, this type of object lets some light through it, but not all. It is not easy to see through this type of material. What type of material is it? Now, again, in your lectures on light, shadows, and reflection, in your class, in light, shadows, and reflection, you might have studied about three types of objects. One is opaque object, transparent object, and translucent objects. And if you recollect the definition of translucent object, there it says that the objects which allows light to pass through them partially but not completely, such objects are known as translucent objects. The example I can give is the butter paper or the tissue paper. And through tissue paper or butter paper, you cannot see through. Okay, you cannot see through a tissue paper. Why? Because it is translucent. It does not allow light to pass through it completely, only partially. So such type of objects are known as translucent objects. So the answer to this question is translucent object. I hope the point is clear. Okay, let us proceed further to our next question. Question number 3. Why we cannot see our image in the mirror in a complete dark room? Now, first of all, how do we see ourselves in the mirrors? The light rays from a distant source, let us say sun or tube light or bulb, it falls on us first, it gets reflected from us, again it falls on mirror, and again there is a reflection of those rays from the mirror, and then it reaches our eye. That's how we see our image. Now, for example, if there's no light source inside the room, there will be no light for the reflection. That means if there's no light source, there will be no reflection. Hence, you cannot see yourself in the mirror. That's why I have written, we cannot see our image in the mirror in a complete dark room because there is no light to reflect. Because there is no light to reflect. Okay, if there is no light, there will be no reflection and we cannot see ourselves in the mirror. I hope the question is clear. The solution is also clear. Let us proceed further to the next part. The next question is, why is shadow formed when an opaque object comes in the path of light? Now, I have taken two situations here. In this situation, I have a bulb and I have a screen here. I have a screen. Now, when I switch on the bulb, the light falls on the screen gets illuminated, we say. Now, for example, in the next situation, I have an opaque object kept in the path. I have kept an opaque object in between bulb and the screen. Now what will happen? This opaque object will block the light, as the property of opaque object says that it does not allow light to pass through it. Obviously, the light rays which are coming from the bulb, it will obstruct those light rays. It will not allow those light rays to pass through them. Also, the light rays, they cannot bend through an opaque object and reach the shadow region. So that's why when an opaque object is kept in between a light source and a screen or a wall or a floor, it casts, it forms a dark patch on the screen. That dark patch is known as shadow. This here, in this case, this is our shadow region. So to write an answer to this question is, light travels in a straight line, and when opaque object obstructs it, the shadow is formed, as the opaque object will not allow light to pass through them. So this is the perfect answer which you can write to this question. I hope it is clear. I'll proceed further to the next question. So the question number 5 is, why we cannot see objects through a T-shaped or an N-shaped pipe? Now I have taken here a T-shaped pipe. Here is my observer. This eye is my observer. And on the one end of the T-shaped pipe, I have kept a light bulb. Now the light rays which are coming from this bulb, obviously they will pass through a straight line. Light rays always pass through a straight line. It will not bend. It will not bend like this and it will reach the observer. This will not happen. It will always pass through a straight line and it will come out through the other end. So that is the reason in T-shaped pipes, the objects cannot be seen. For example, if I take N-shaped pipe, the situation is same. The light rays which are coming from this bulb will get obstructed here at this point. They will not bend back and reach my observer. This will not happen. So the main reason is, since the light travels in a straight line, we cannot use T-shaped or N-shaped pipe to see different objects. So the answer which I have written is, we cannot see object through T-shaped or N-shaped pipe because light travels through a straight line. This is the main point. Light travels through a straight line. You should always underline main points. I hope the point is clear to all. Let us proceed further to the next question. Next, question number 6. What do we need to see an object? Now, this is a very interesting question. Obviously, to see an object, we require an object first. Next important thing, we need an eye or eyes. Also, we require a distant luminous source or any light source we require to see an object. Now, what happens is, how do we see objects? Why objects are like visible? When a light from a distant source falls on various objects, it gets reflected from those objects and it reaches our eye. And that's how we see those objects. Let us draw a diagram for your understanding. For example, I have an object here at this particular point. Okay, and I have my observer here at this point. Let me draw an eye just. So this is my observer. Now, light from any distant source, let us say sun. If this light from the distant source, it falls on the object and it gets reflected back and it reaches to our eyes. That's how the objects become visible. So the answer to this question which I have written is, to see an object, we need source of light, eyes, and object. Full stop. When light emitted by luminous body falls on an object, it is reflected back. It is reflected back and is received by our eyes. Then we see that object. So main phenomena which is working in making things visible is the reflection of light. You all must have studied about reflection of light also. Okay, I hope the answer is very much clear to all. So I'll proceed further to the next question. Question number 7. If moon is non-luminous, how it appears bright in night? Now you all might have heard from your teachers that moon is a non-luminous object. It does not emit its own light. Just now we have seen the property of a non-luminous object. The objects which do not emit their own light are known as non-luminous objects. And we know that moon is a non-luminous object. So how does it emit, or how does it appears to be bright in the night sky? Let us draw a diagram. So I'll draw a diagram. Let us say this is my earth. And here is my moon. And I have my sun here at this point. Let us say this is my sun. So the light rays which are coming from the sun, it falls on the moon and it reflects back and reaches to the observer at this particular end. Let me draw an observer. So the moon itself is a non-luminous object, but what it does is, in night, it reflects the sunlight that falls on it. So that's how moon appears to be bright in a night sky. Again, here the phenomena of reflection is used. So considering all these questions, we can see that the phenomena of reflection is very much important. That's why we should study it properly. I hope the point is clear. Let us proceed further. Question number 8. What type of object does not cast shadows and why is that? Now, just now we have seen that when an opaque object is kept in front of a light source, it obstructs the light and forms a bright or a dark patch, not the bright, a dark patch behind it. Behind it, if there is a screen or a wall, there's a dark patch formed on that. Now, transparent and translucent objects, they allow light to pass through them. Whereas transparent objects allow light to pass through them completely. Translucent objects also allow light to pass through them, but partially. That's why they cannot cast shadows on a screen which is kept behind them. So the answer to this question which I have written is, transparent and some translucent objects do not cast shadow because the light passes through them. This is very important, because the light passes through them. That is the main reason. I hope the point is clear. Let us proceed further. Which of these objects, question number 9, which of these objects can cast shadow? Again, I'm repeating the question, which of these objects can cast shadow? There are certain set of objects given to you: paper, air, rock, glass, and sun. Now let us recollect our definition of opaque objects: the objects which do not allow light to pass through them. Only those objects can cast shadows. Among these objects, what do you think, which are the objects which will not allow the light to pass through them? Obviously, the answer is very much clear. The paper, rock, and glass. Oh, I'm so sorry. Glass will not come. In place of that, sun will come. Paper, rock, and sun, these are opaque objects. Okay, they will not allow light to pass through them. So obviously, they can cast shadows easily. So the answer is paper, rock, and glass. In bracket, you can also mention they are opaque objects. Obviously, the sun is a luminous object. It will emit its own light, but at the same time, it is also an opaque object. It will not allow any other light to pass through it. I hope the point is very much clear. Whereas the other two objects, air and glass, these are transparent objects. They can allow light to pass through them, and hence we cannot see their shadows. I hope the point is clear. Let us proceed further to the next question. Very interesting. What is a periscope? Now, periscope is an optical instrument which you might have seen in submarines. Now, submarines usually are below sea level. And to locate objects, for example, enemy ships or distant objects, what they will do is they will use this periscope to locate those objects. Now, in the periscope, the periscope actually consists of a Z-shaped tube in which we have two parallel mirrors. This is a mirror. Again, there is another mirror at this end. Now, these two mirrors, they are parallel. Now, observe carefully. Again, we are using the phenomena of reflection. Now, here I have an object. Now, light rays from this object, they will incident on this mirror first. Then what will happen? Again, it will get reflected and it will incident on the another parallel mirror. Again, the reflection will take place and the light rays from the object will reach the observer. This is how a periscope functions. So a periscope is an optical object or an optical instrument by which we can see or locate object above our line of sight. That means when the object is not at our line of sight, it is above our line of sight. That's when we can use our periscope. I hope all the answers are clear. Thank you. Thank you so much.